Well, speaking of amateur podcasts, a band that's not amateur, Green Day. This is actually the third time we're covering them. It is their fifth album altogether. We covered album 3, 4, and 5. We covered Dookie, their third album, and we covered Insomniac, their fourth album. I think we did Insomniac as a bonus episode, right? Me
Correct.
and you?
I think that was you and Matt.
Me and Matt, I'm sorry. Yep,
Yeah.
because I did it with Matt. I know it was a bonus episode when we did Insomniac. So are you familiar with Insomniac?
I have to look at the track listing. I feel like I've definitely heard a song or
Yeah,
two.
Brain Stew,
Yes,
Jaded,
yeah.
Walking Contradiction. Those
Yeah.
are some of the big ones off that one. Yeah.
Yep, I do know that.
Yep.
Those singles.
So I only say that because this represents like an evolution of Green Day's sound, right? By design. And I'm not going to steal your thunder on this one. But Nimrod by Green Day, I'll start by saying I remember when this came out being somewhat disappointed by it because of what it sounded like. And
Okay.
because of that, I don't remember revisiting it very often over the years. So I really appreciated going back to this because now I'm far gone from being like, well, how come they didn't make something as catchy as pop punk catchy as or punky, I'd probably say, as Dookie, or as heavy, right, as Insomniac. Like, what's this thing? There's different stuff, but I really appreciated the variety on this album. Josh, what'd you think of this one?
Yeah, I thought this was a really solid entry and just reminded me of how good Green Day is and how consistent. And even though they have this, they have a certain Green Day sound, I think they follow these kind of like formulas at least, or kind of, some of their hooks or guitar riffs can maybe sound the same or similar to other songs of theirs. I think they have a real talent for making an entertaining record and like songcraft and in terms of construction. I didn't know kind of the history of where Green Day was at with this, and I agree with you that there is a variety on here. I mean, there's more songs. There's 18 songs on here.
Made a conscious decision to follow their muse on this one.
Gotcha.
Josh, was sort of how they explained this one.
Yeah. And well, I appreciate them doing that because I feel like it does expand kind of what Green Day was, at least from, those earlier two albums. You've got some surf rock on here. You've got some ska. You've got maybe even a little hardcore dabbling. And
those are 3 of the 4 genres they decided to explore, along with folk music.
Folk. Okay. What was the folk song? Oh, was it Good Riddance? Is that like
probably
okay,
that would be my guess? Yeah.
Okay. Well, that song is gigantic. That's probably one of their most well-known songs, actually, I would think.
I remember like 5 different songs on this album being on MTV. That one being one of. There were 4 singles technically, but I can definitely remember. Just so you know, Hitchin' a Ride, Good Riddance, Time of Your Life, Redundant, and Nice Guys Finish Last were the formal ones. But I can remember hearing The Grouch on radio as well. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and so they start off really strong with all of those singles. 1 through 4, like you said, I think were singles, or at least very familiar, and so you get shot right out of the gate. And I found this album kind of breezed by. All the songs are pretty short, as is usually the case with Green Day, and it just kept my interest throughout. I found a lot of deep cuts that I liked on this album as well. Songs like Platypus, I Hate You in parentheses, same song. Last Ride In, which is like an instrumental track, which I thought was interesting. But How Shinka, Walking Alone, those are all in the back half of the album. And I thought that those were solid as well. They are a 3-piece, and I feel like they're all kind of like riding, they all complement each other perfectly. And I think they're all kind of really in sync and play their instruments well. And they're really tight as a band, I guess is what I'm trying to say. And you can hear that on this album, and it was an enjoyable listen for me.
Yeah, one thing that I always remember about the songs from this album is there were great videos on this, from like MTV videos on this. There's Redundant is basically the band playing in front of a scene. And it's sort of in the same lane as Imitation of Life by REM. Imitation of Life is like where they have a mosaic and they keep zeroing in on a small part of the mosaic and then panning out, and you can see what's going on in specific details. It's a really great video. It's one of my favorite videos. Redundant is one, as you would expect from the song, where just the same scene keeps going on the entire video and it like plays out as like a sort of stop motion, like 10 to 12 second clip, and then they keep adding stuff into it that keeps repeating along the way. So it's worth checking out. Hitchin' a Ride is another one where it's sort of in that same lane of it almost looks like a Smashing Pumpkins video where they're like old-timey sort of like a minstrel act kind of a little bit without the racial connotations, more just playing for their music, and there's old-timey imagery. They're on stage, right? So that one. But my favorite is the Nice Guys Finished Last one, which, did you ever growing up watch the NFL Films things where John Fonseca would like diagram a video, like they'd show the yellow lines and stuff of a guy on a blitz just destroying a quarterback, or those things I'm talking about, the NFL Films?
Yeah.
So they one of the funniest things to me is like usually in punk, right? Like you're not gonna like retcon, mainstream, but Green Day was always interesting that they had mainstream non-punky habits, and they clearly watch football, right? Because they did a whole thing where they clearly watched a ton of NFL Films videos, so they kept doing the type of things that the NFL Films would show, like slow motions of big hits and stuff. And I will always remember they do one where a person comes out of the crowd and just like tackles Billy Joe Armstrong, and they run it back. It's a really great video. So they were on top of their game on videos. I'd highly recommend Josh, that you watch those 3 videos, but especially Nice Guys Finished Last and Redundant. They're really good videos. But I was here for it. I was shocked how many of I wasn't sure which ones were on Nimrod and which ones were on Warning. And I was pleasantly surprised that when I think of those 2 albums, the songs, even though one was 97 and one was 00, which is kind of wild because I think of them being
a big gap.
Right at the same time, but they weren't. I realized like, a lot of the songs I didn't like from Green Day in this era are clearly on Warning, the singles, and the ones I do like are pretty much all stuffed onto this one. I'm neutral on Time of Your Life. It's one of those songs that if it was just by itself, I'd like it, but then it became so much a part of pop culture that it just, I think most famously on Seinfeld, right?
Yes.
The last episode, or the clip show they did ahead of time, and it kind of outlived its use for me. But it's a pretty song. As you listen to it, but
they played it at our like yearbook.
You and everybody.
Thing, right?
That and that graduation song by Vitamin C.
Yes, exactly.
the two in that era, but I feel like it almost became pre-meme for graduation. Like we're gonna graduate, that, and can I graduate? Like there's just certain songs that we were pre-meme, but they would definitely be just the easiest memes in the world. So, but I think there was a conscious effort to stuff all of these singles on the front because they're all different, songs. Like Hitchin' a Ride is sort of like a throwback type song, like swing almost in its feel. Nice Guys Finished Last and The Grouch especially The Grouch are throwbacks to Green Day's sort of pop punk roots. The Grouch is one of their great hidden songs. It's also a song right up my alley because it's about like how much he hates like nostalgia seeking old people, which I love. So I was here for the lyrics there. And Nice Guys Finished Last is more of like a pop rock song in some ways. And they're then you see Scott, and I do think they table set right off the bat. It's like, don't worry, we haven't abandoned our bread and butter, but we're also gonna take some shots on this one. And it was pretty much the perfect time for Green Day to expand into that lane. I could appreciate that now. Listening to it, in that era, I was like, I'd like more of Green Day. It's been a couple of years, and I don't think I quite processed that all of Green Day's children, pop punk are just around the corner, right? And so I was going to get saturated by that. It felt like they were kind of the only ones on mainstream radio that was doing it, so they scratched that itch for me. And if I was listening to mainstream radio, but I look at this as somewhat of a precursor as to, they do Warning after this, and then I think it's like 3 more years after Warning until American Idiot, where of course they go in a completely different direction. I feel like they've lived in that direction ever since, to diminishing different levels of returns, right, in terms of what they're doing there. But I was not pleasantly surprised, but it was good to see the ambition here at this stage of their career, and also they're just in such great form. They're such a tight band. Billy Joe Armstrong really has a way with words too. He writes, really great lyrics when you sit and listen to them. Weighty, right? For a genre that isn't always known for, and not just Time of Your Life, right? All of the songs, right? Like in many ways speak about feelings and relationships in a way that I can really relate to. So there's a reason they're Rock and Roll Hall of Famers. I can remember talking to an older gentleman in my life, and Green Day was nominated for the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and I remember it was just one of these things where he's like, do you really you're from that it was like one of these, you're from that generation, right? I'm like, of course they are. They're like one of, in the 90s, it's hard to say they're certainly a top 10 band, right? Like I'd probably say in terms of influence and re-listenability, right, for people in other generations, they might even go to top 5, and then they have a whole nother career in the 2000s, right? So it's just one of those things where you kind of, and I'm sure there will be some for me of people in the 2010s where I'm like, really, they're a Hall of Famer, right? And because I was outside of the zone, right, at that time. But yeah, in the era, right, like bands that have been inducted recently, like Rage Against the Machine, Green Day, stuff like that, they're no-brainers for people of our age. But I guess I can see how they can be slept on if you weren't there. So yeah, good thumbs up for me too. I was really happy that I liked this album as much as I did. Both times I listened to this album, I really enjoyed it.
Yeah. Two things. One, to your point about the lyrics, he's even writing like on the song King for a Day, he's writing about like drag queens or cross-dressing, something like that. And so he's, their politics have become more well known in the last, like, basically from 2003 on, I'd say. Right. But I think it's they kind of live their truth in a way. Like they're not afraid to write songs, addressing different topics or being socially conscious, and in an entertaining way. And also, have you ever seen Green Day live?
Yes, I have seen them live twice. Once in 1995 and once last year. Oh wow! In 2014. So there you go.
The whole range. Well, I saw them pre-American Idiot, so before that album came out. And I remember that they would they did Hitch and a Ride, but they would bring a kid up who could play guitar, and that they would have that person play that. Okay, they still do that? Yeah. Which I always thought was kind of a clever thing, because it's just a repeating guitar riff, but it's really kind of...
They did not do that in 1995. They just played really fucking fast songs from Kerplunk, and their new album when I saw them that time was like Insomniac had just come out, which is famously a very fast album. So it's just, move them all there. When I saw them in 2024, they're remarkably tight, Josh, still to this day. It's kind of insane how great they sounded, like tight. Yeah. They sounded as an act. They do have a little bit, they are at the stage of their career where it's like, sing along with me, which is, I remember talking to Matt because he saw them too. And Matt's like, it's really great how they moved into this. I'm like, it kind of breaks my heart a little bit to like see them turn into like Springsteen. But
Is that just too because their voices can't like hold
No,
up
his
as
voice
well?
sounded fantastic.
Oh, okay.
No, and they played forever.
Yeah.
They played and Trey Cool was playing as fast as he... No, that's what I was most shocked by, that there wasn't any diminishment in terms... They sounded just as good, and I'm not just saying this with Halos, right? Like what really shocked me was that they sounded as tight as they did when I saw them in 1995. It was pretty amazing. I think it's more like what Green Day's become, right? It's like Green Day's for all the people. Like the punk is all out of them now, right? They've become a band of the people now. They're more akin to U2 and Bruce Springsteen now than they are. But that's okay. I give them the right to do it. But it does a little bit break my heart.
They're like a multi-generational, like my parents listened to this band and now my kids are listening to this type of band.
Yes, and that's what the crowd was like. There were nuns in their 70s who we were talking to them and they were like, oh, I went to see them because I saw American Idiot on Broadway. And it's like, that's where they're at now, right? I think they're aware enough to not put their music on the, like an Apple phone like you do, but they're closer to that now than they are probably to playing in San Francisco, right? The venue that's completely something street that they got kicked out of, right, for not being punk enough, and it really, destroyed them. I don't think that that's like 7 lifetimes ago for them.
Right.
Yeah, Gilman Street, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, but yeah, thumbs up. It's worth a check out, and I think we're going to be doing Warning too.
Oh really? Okay.
So maybe I'll also have that one. I was trying to think like what songs I know. I know Minority is on that, and I'm sure there's others I know.
And Warning.
And yeah, Warning exactly. So yep. Mm-hmm.
Wait, let me see what else is on there. I'm curious now.
Okay. Clean that stack right off the bat.
Yeah, right. I don't know. Waiting.
Any others?
I think Waiting is
okay. I do remember that. I think.
Yeah.
Because I remember saying it's interesting. They have a song called Warning, and then the next one's Waiting. Right. It's
right.
Too similar for when you're picking your singles.
Yep.
But I would say, John, I'll reinforce it again. I know you didn't really grow up watching a lot of music videos for a period of time. I would recommend those Redundant and Nice Guys Finish. And Nice Guys Finish Last in particular shows the band's sense of humor. I think it's you feel like you get to know Green Day right from that one, a little bit of their sensibilities. So it somehow is both punk and frat boy at the same time, which I guess is kind of what Blink-182 pioneers, a short half year